Good evening everyone, Mike Palmer from Know Your Rights Group and Success Coaching International with another important live video update tonight. Now firstly, I just want to exclaim, I guess, at how bewildered I was at a number, just a few thankfully, but really negative, hateful comments that I received on my last video that I did on Thursday night. Now if anyone missed that, it was entitled More Vital Info on the Mandatory Mask Directives. Now, I guess it obviously raised some good points because it hit a few nerves. But it really concerned, look, it doesn't worry me, it's, water off a duck's back, but it concerned me more so that people felt that it was okay to be that aggressive. Now, I said in that video that I totally respected people's choice to wear a mask. If they looked into it and done the research and that's what they wanted to do, then absolutely, by all means. I suggested that maybe people might want to look into perhaps some of the health implications, and I explained some of that. But at the end of the day, if that's what they chose to do, then great, that's their choice. But I respect your choice if you want to wear a mask. So why is it so hard to respect my choice if I say I don't want to, especially when I made it clear on a number of videos that I actually have a pre-existing medical condition? It really concerns me. There's been so much talk of bullying, and stamping out bullying. We had the whole Me Too movement, about, why we can't denigrate women, we can't fat shame people. Yet people seem to think that it's okay to glare at someone because they're not wearing a mask or yell out and call them names. I mean, even the media now apparently is calling anyone who doesn't wear a mask hole. I mean, like, what the hell? What happened to, treat everyone fairly and equally? And, what about what your mother hopefully taught you? If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. I mean, it's crazy. I even heard one extreme story. Apparently, there was a couple in the US, thankfully not here, and they were out at a park having a picnic, and they were eating. So obviously, they didn't have their mask because they were eating, and some little old lady came up and maced them. Sprayed mace in their face because they weren't wearing a mask. I mean, this is how completely out of control it is. But it also shows you how absolutely, what a massive stranglehold the elite have on us with this whole divide and conquer strategy. It is working really well, really well. I mean, look, I've been out and about, just going about my daily business, and I've noticed people, and some have been wearing masks. Thankfully, I've seen a lot of people not wearing masks now, and you give people a bit of a nod or a bit of a thumbs up, and they acknowledge it back. And on the whole, it's been pretty good. I've had a couple of people question me, as to why. But on the whole, it hasn't been too bad. But I've noticed the comments on Facebook, these keyboard warriors just get so incensed, and that's just not right. And again, why would you get so fired up about this? I mean, again, I don't go out unnecessarily. When I do go out, I don't cough or I don't sneeze, or on the 1 in a million chance I do it into my elbow. Okay, so I'm not sick. Okay, I haven't been around anyone who's sick. Let's not forget, everyone's wearing masks, everyone's social distancing. So even if I do go out, I'm not going to catch it off anyone, because wearing masks and socially distancing yourself, that protects you. So the government tells us. So I'm not going to get it off anyone. I don't have it now. So how is me not wearing a mask possibly going to adversely affect anybody? It doesn't make any sense. This, and look, we all know that emotions are irrational. But the fact that people get so fired up about this, yet as I've said on previous videos, they don't get anywhere near as incensed about the child trafficking, the child sacrifices, how the people in government are completely disregarding our Commonwealth Constitution. There's a couple of things that you want to get incensed about something, get incensed about that. Not because someone doesn't want to wear a silly little paper mask, which is essentially going to do little to nothing to save them, you, or anybody else. So let's just keep things in perspective, okay? Now, here's my concern though, and this is a real concern for me, is that there's been a few people who've started off by not wearing a mask over the past few days. But I'm hearing a lot of stories from people now where they're copping a lot of flack. They're getting a lot of backlash. So my concern is that there are going to be people who started out not wearing masks, but because they've been ostracised, because they've been glared at, because they've been called names, are going to go, you know what, it's just going to be easier to conform. Okay? and that's a real concern for me. And I've seen it on the Facebook. I've got some of our one of our Facebook admins to actually put up a poll. We answer the questions on our Facebook group, and I've just said, are you wearing a mask? Yes or no. And if you are, why? No judgment, but I genuinely want to know why. Now there was a couple of people said, oh look, because I've been glared at and frowned upon, and so it's just easier not to do it. Some other people said there was a bunch of people said that they were concerned about that they were doing because they were concerned about the fines. So again, I tell you, if you're at all worried about fines, whether it's mask fines, COVID fines, or any other fines, the information in this book is invaluable. Okay, yes, it's primarily to do with unjust and unlawful traffic fines, but it can be edited and amended to suit any type of fine. Okay, so please, there's a link in the description to this video. If you don't have that book yet, make sure you grab it. You can use it for all fines. Okay, these fines, when they're challenged, will never see the light of day in court. Okay, but if you want to challenge them, so that they don't get to court, that Aussie Speeding Fines book is 100% the way to go. So if anyone's doing, wearing a mask for that reason, just grab that book, have a read through it, and that'll hopefully allay any fears that you may have. Now, some of the other comments that I saw, and I've just sort of picked a couple here. It says most are wearing and compliant because they're too scared to stand up for what they really believe in, and they're not sure how to tackle the fines or judgments, opinions, and discrimination of others. So I'm going to address that tonight. Another one here said, walking through Melbourne unmasked will give the experience of how a black or Asian person felt in 1960, walking through an all-white small country town. And, that's a very valid comment. That's absolutely a very valid comment. You will feel intimidated, discriminated against, and vilified. Be strong, people. Another one. I attempted to visit 3 medical centres today for general blood work. One had a sign saying no mask, no service. The other 2 medical centres required appointment only. It's a very bleak situation in Sydney. Now, this isn't even in Melbourne. This is in Sydney, okay, where it hasn't even come in yet. Wait for it. I don't know one awake person. This is very real and very scary. The 1% knew this could never have been pulled off with the 98% of bendovers in this world. Glad I grew up in the 80s. I feel sorry for the kids of today. So, these are real concerns, and these are real comments that I pulled off Facebook. Thankfully, there was only 4 people that responded that said that they genuinely thought that the mask was actually going to help other people. And as I said, 145 people responded so far and said that they weren't wearing them, which is great. So there's some good numbers, and it certainly makes me feel like the message is getting out to some people at least. But as I said, I think that those who started by not wearing a mask might be bullied and pressured into doing so in the coming days and weeks. But unfortunately, my bigger concern is that the converse is not going to happen. I just can't see it. And I hope I'm wrong, but I just can't see how, given the mentality of most people out there today, that people who started by wearing a mask because they were worried about fines or they thought they had to or whatever, are going to go out and grab one of our books or do a bit more research and realise, hang on, this thing isn't actually good for me. This is actually bad for my health because it's limiting the amount of oxygen I'm breathing in and it's increasing the amount of CO2 I'm breathing in. Look, I don't know. I'm not medically trained. I don't know what to what degree that's happening, but I do know less oxygen and more CO2 ends up with a bad result. I'm just concerned that people aren't going to see that and take the appropriate action and take a stand and go, no, you know what, I've realised now that this wearing a mask thing is not good, and I'm actually going to take mine off. Look, I hope I'm wrong, and I have heard a couple of stories, and look, by all means, if anyone's got any stories out there like that, let me know. I'd love to hear them. Now, I do have one excellent story, and that came through on Facebook today, and that's from one of our long-standing members and actually one of our GAP candidates. And he went into a store and he was challenged on why aren't you wearing a mask, and he explained why he wasn't, and he said, I've got one simple question for you. When are you going to take yours off? And the lady looked a bit stunned and, huh? Well, when are you going to take yours off? Well, when I'm told I'm allowed to. And his simple response was, well, maybe you should think about that for a while. And he just walked off and left it at that. Okay, didn't have a go at her, didn't he? Just left her with that thought. Now, he went off, I think he went back into the car park and he was having something to eat or something, and he noticed this, this lady walk out, I don't know, 5-10 minutes later, whatever it was, And, you know, she's noticed him in the car, she's come up and had no mask on. She's like, well, I've been thinking about what you said, and, you know, it's really uncomfortable and I really don't like it, and I was kind of just doing it because I was forced to. And he said to her, he said, that's brilliant. Excellent. From this moment on, know that all you need to do is just simply say that you have a medical condition that stops you from wearing a mask, and that's all you need to do. No one can ask for proof or evidence of your medical exemption. No one has the right to ask you for your private medical records. Now, this is even on the DHHS website. This is Department of Health and Human Services website. Okay, so this is dhhs.vic.gov.au, and it says here, face coverings for the Metropolitan Melbourne and Mitchell Shire. Information about wearing face coverings in Metropolitan Melbourne and Mitchell Shire. I have a medical condition that prevents me from wearing a mask. Do I need a medical certificate stating I don't need to wear a mask? And the answer is you do not need a medical certificate stating that you have a lawful reason for not wearing a mask. If you have a lawful reason for not wearing a mask, you do not need to apply for an exemption or permit. If stopped by police, they will ask you to confirm the lawful reason you're not wearing a mask. That's it. Okay, and the same with your workplace, because we keep hearing stories from people who are saying, oh, but I'm being forced to wear one in my workplace. My employer is forcing me. No, they can't. If it's not in your original employment contract, they can't unilaterally alter that employment contract. And also, if you state that you have a medical condition that stops you or forbids you from wearing the mask, they can't override that. If they do, you can have them, you know, you can sue them civilly. Okay, so please understand your rights, because again, as we keep saying, those who don't know their rights have none. It's so important to understand, you know, what your rights are. And look, you know, this example that I gave about asking these questions, it's not going to work for everybody. Okay, most people are so ingrained, they're so brainwashed that they're not likely to change their mind. But here's the thing, if just 10% of people that you ask that question to, hey, by the way, when are you going to take your mask off? And get them thinking about that and getting them to go, huh? If we could get through to just 10% of people, we could change things very, very quickly, and we could eliminate this focus on this ridiculous waste of time wearing masks, and we could instead start focusing our time, effort, energy, and attention on stopping the real spread of disease, which is through the elderly and those with underlying medical conditions. Now, I'll tell you, thankfully it doesn't affect me personally, but my message to anybody out there who is affected by this, if you have elderly, you know, parents, grandparents, if you have people with underlying health conditions, for the love of all that is holy, do not put them into, you know, a healthcare or aged care facility. That is the worst place for them. If you have someone who's in one of those facilities, do anything you can to get them out. Because as Daniel Andrews loves to say, look at the statistics, and the statistics tell you that that is the worst place to be, because that is where the spread is happening. Okay, the spread is not happening out in the parks where people are going for a walk in the fresh air. It's not happening down at the beach. It's also clearly not happening in Bunnings and Coles and all those places. It's happening in the healthcare and aged care facilities. That's what we need to focus on. They are the people we need to protect. Okay, but that's not going to happen while everyone's still worried about whether they should put their mask on or not, or whether they're going to get a fine. Okay, now again, speaking of Daniel Andrews, I never turn on the news, but every so often I just like to hear what rubbish is being spouted. Now, in this report, he was saying that they are conducting in Melbourne 30,000 tests a day. Okay, 30,000 tests a day. Now, in Melbourne, we've had, you know, these big figures of 300 and 400 people coming back and testing positive. Now, again, that doesn't mean that they're new cases, as I keep explaining to people. Those cases were out there yesterday and the day before and the day before that. Okay, they just tested for them and found them. Okay, but they were always there, but that's okay. So they're testing these 30,000 people, and they're coming back with 300 or 400 positive results out of those 30,000 people. Okay, so what about the other 29,500 people that have tested negative? Why do they still have to wear masks? Now, I think we're all on the same page. I don't think it matters where you stand in relation to masks. I think everybody's on the same page. Everybody accepts that a mask is not going to stop you from catching this virus. It's only possibly potentially going to help someone who has the virus to stop them from spreading it. So, why then are these people who have tested negative, these 29,500 people a day, why are they, of all people, still being forced to wear masks? It doesn't make any sense. Again, Andrew's, like most of the other government muppets out there, is approaching this completely the wrong way. Everybody wants to focus on punishing those who are supposedly doing the wrong thing rather than rewarding those who are doing the right thing. So, if Andrews wants more people to get tested, why not say, hey, go and get tested, go home for 2 days. When you get a test, you'll get a little sticker or you'll get a little certificate that says that you're COVID-free and you can go out without a mask. Then people might want to actually go and get tested if that's what he's trying to achieve. What he's doing makes no sense. Okay? You need to encourage and reward people for doing what you want them to do. Don't just crack the big stick and tell them off for doing what you think is the wrong thing. Most people don't, like that kind of approach. So again, it's very simple. If he wants people to get tested, he wants to identify who's got it and who doesn't, give them a reward. And most people, even if they agree with the mask directives, most people say they're uncomfortable, I don't like them, I don't want to wear them, we'll give them an opportunity to take them off. Get them to take a test, give them a certificate when they test negative, and let them go out without a mask. Just seems like common sense to me, but as I've said before, ever notice that common sense ain't always that common? Ah, dear. Now look, the good news is that I have, irrespective of all of that, most people have given up waiting for Dan Andrews to come to his senses, okay? And people are going out, they're going out there in the world, they're getting their cameras, they're getting their phones, they're filming themselves, challenging these ridiculous, irrelevant, and pointless mandatory mask directives. Okay, and that is fantastic. I've seen a bunch of them. The media are reporting on them now, which is fantastic. People are getting it. Okay, and that's great. Now, the one suggestion that I would give people in general terms across the board, okay, because I've seen a number of these videos, or certainly portions of them, is don't tell anybody anything. Don't tell the police anything. Okay, don't tell the shop owners anything. Okay, just ask questions. Okay, now we've been through these questions before. Where is your instrument of delegation? Yes, officer, absolutely. I'm well aware that a chief medical officer can delegate authority. Okay, but are you aware that they can only delegate that authority in writing? Oh, you weren't aware of that? Maybe you should go and look it up. So again, where's your instrument of delegation? Okay, officer, have you read the Public Health and Wellbeing Act 2008 in its entirety? Now, of course they haven't. They're going to say no. Yeah. Or, officer, have you read the entire Public Health and Wellbeing Act, or have you just been given a brief on it? Oh, yeah, we've just been given a brief. Okay. So, now you've established yourself as the authority because, it insinuates that you've actually read it. Well, officer, have you actually read Section 212 of the Public Health and Wellbeing Act? No. Oh, would you like me to show it to you? Yeah, have it there on your phone. Bring it up and show them. Oh, I didn't realise it says that. Okay. Well, there we go. Okay, and for those of you who haven't read it yet, it says that you're not, you don't have to say or do anything that might incriminate you. Okay, but ask questions. Okay, don't tell them anything. Okay, again, be nice. Okay, explain. Look, I understand you're under immense pressure. Okay, I understand you're being told what to do and you're confused and you've got a job to do and all that. I get that. But you're a man or you're a woman, you've got a family too. At some point in time, you've got to question these directives that you're being given and ask yourself, is this right for you? Is wearing a mask for your whole shift and reducing your oxygen intake and increasing your CO2 intake, is that really the right thing for you? Is that actually healthy for you? Okay, ask them these questions. Okay, I know certain people have certain beliefs about the police and this and that and everything else. I'm not going to get into any of that. They are humans too. Okay, so be nice and treat them with respect and they'll do the same to you. Okay, now here's your role. Okay, once you've learned about your rights, once you understand your rights, your role is to go and teach others about them, such as the police, such as the shop owners. Okay, again, everyone goes, oh, the system's corrupt and it's da-da-da-da-da. And yeah, there's elements of that, but the system works really, really well. Look at how the system works and use it back against them. What does the system do? It's using shop owners and policy enforcers and all that sort of stuff to do their bidding. So you just turn it around and you just ask these shop owners, you ask the police officers these kinds of leading questions. Get them thinking. Turn them back against the very system that they are upholding. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with that now. Just to finish off tonight, I do want to finish off on one really positive point because as most of you saw on that video that I did last Thursday, I was really frustrated. I was really a little bit dejected at the end of it all. And I did get some really wonderful comments from people, so thank you for that. But one of the most powerful messages that I got was actually from a lady. And I've got it here. We're going to read it out in entirety on Tuesday night. But for those of you who want to know, this is fantastic. She actually used the letters in that Bank Secrets Revealed book. And she confirmed that she had a credit card loan to the amount of $26,456.32, completely wiped. She wrote the letters in. They wrote back. They said, "Yep, no worries. We'll wipe that. Please just sign this." So it's it's all a non-disclosure and all the rest of it. And boom, all done. So that is absolutely fantastic news. So if anyone is in any way, shape or form questioning the true power of these 3 books, there's testimonials like that on all of the various websites. Again, there's links to all those websites in the description on this video. The most important one, of course, in our opinion, is the Know Your Rights book. And again, a reminder for anyone who's maybe new to these videos, we do now have a link on our ebook page on our website where you can actually get all 3 books in the one place and you save on the postage. And we've also got an ultimate pack which includes an even bigger discount for anyone who's interested in that. So as always, now more than ever, please make sure that you get informed, you get fired up, and you get proactive. Thanks. I'll talk to you all on our radio show on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock.